Choice Nation. So this sports with a twist, no script. Legends coming through on the guest list. DC, Minnesota, land of the lakes, full Green Bay. That's all I gotta say. Gotta start with the ropes, you know we don't play. We get wild every single day. We got our flaws, but we love our saints. Twist Nation, go to like our page. Choice Nation. Choice Nation. Choice Nation. Choice Nation.
Welcome.
What up?
Episode Deion Sanders, 21 of Twist, the week in sports talk.
Papa Benz's favorite number, 21.
Kevin Garnett.
There it is.
Not number 5 from Boston, number 21 from here.
Beautiful.
We got 5 days left of the show of the month voting. There's over 4,000 votes. So thank you.
Yeah.
But we still need your help. We are down by 1%.
Vote early, vote often.
Go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and help your boys out. 5 days left. So we are excited for that. You can add us on all the social media, Twist Sports Talk. Check out our website, twistsportstalk.com.
Yes.
We got a great show. Us being Vikings fans, we're super pumped. Greg's team sucks. We're going to get to that later. So like the song says, boo Green Bay. That's all we got to say.
Yeah.
Right, Greg?
I'm not ready yet.
He's not ready. He's going to hold it in. We have
We'll
two great interviews lined up. We're going to kick off the show with Tyler George,
Yeah.
Greg's curling buddy. He's an Olympic gold medal winner.
Tyler, not me.
Not Green Bay Greg. Absolutely not. So let's bring him on here.
Tyler, what's up, my buddy?
Guys, how we doing today?
Good.
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Sporting my Randy Watson 1988 World Tour shirt today. I
Nice.
hope you guys get the reference. It's a classic.
Very fresh.
Got the headband on, so you're ready for the draft?
We're in full quarantine mode, yeah. We got the quarantine hair. The beard's going. We trimmed this thing up. This was getting pretty wild a couple of weeks ago, but now we're looking a little neater.
Yeah, looking great. Well, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on.
Nice. So, Tyler, being, an Olympian in a niche sport like, curling, which, just for reference, I've been curling for close to 20 years, curled in St. Paul until they opened the club in Chaska, done a lot of bronze fields around Madison, Wisconsin. What do you do leading up to, the Olympics? Year before, 2 years before, how are you training in such a niche sport where there's not clubs all over the nation?
Well, being in Minnesota helps a lot because we have clubs all over the place here and one of the best facilities in the country in Duluth. And we have 24-hour access to that building. So a lot of clubs, maybe you can only get in for leagues or certain practice time, but we were able to practice whenever we needed to. And the vast majority of our training together was on tour. We were probably on the road, I'd say, at least half of the year, like just literally like in hotels, all around Canada for the most part. That's where 90% of our tournaments were for World Tour stuff. But it's after you play together for a long time and even knowing each other your entire lives through the circuit on the World Curling Tour, we're familiar enough that we didn't need to be together for practices all the time because we're playing all these tournaments. But it's the same as any other sport. You're playing all the time. You're training all the time. It's the only difference is we got jobs too. When we're done, we got to go back and go to work. So guys got families too. It's a big time crunch. And a lot of the teams that we're competing against on tour and at the Olympics are basically professional teams that do nothing but curls. So that's what you're up against when you're playing in the United States. But we're hoping that with our success in 2018 that starts to turn. There's more interest, more sponsorship money coming into the sport, more exposure, so that eventually maybe the guys generation after us can play professionally, not have to do anything else, and go through the grind the way that we did.
Yeah, and just a reference to what you were talking about in 2018, in 2015, they opened the club in Chaska, which your buddy Jeff Isaacson runs, a friend of mine, and they were expecting in the first year having 150, 200 members at that club. It got to be over 1,300 in the first month. So that just tells you how much your success built on popularity in the sport. So, kudos to you guys for that.
Yeah, the Chaska Club kind of was a sign of things to come because they opened up before our Olympic run. So seeing that there was that kind of interest in the Twin Cities area that already had St. Paul and Blaine, which had the same type of explosion with membership that Chaska did. They just came around a few years earlier. So we knew that the interest was already there, and just giving people that maybe weren't familiar with curling a reason to get interested by what we did in 2018 is just taking it to a completely different level. And I'm fortunate enough now that I work as an ambassador for USA Curling. So I travel around the country promoting the sport. And it's amazing to see that type of interest is translated now to areas where curling didn't even exist 10, 15 years ago, or even 2 years ago for a lot of these clubs that started up after our Olympic success. So I get to see that firsthand, and people are really passionate about the sport. It's growing like crazy. Faster in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. And to know that we had a part in that and we can continue to help that movement grow is probably the most fulfilling part of all of it for us.
Yeah, a few years ago, they opened one in Lakeville. I was actually at the ribbon cutting for that. Cool spot there. So when little Tyler was running around, did you catch a curling game, or how did you, get into the sport?
My parents ran the curling club in Duluth when I was born, so I've told the story thousands of times. I've literally been raised on the game, sleeping in the roasting pans in the kitchen as an infant. So when you're raised around something, it just kind of becomes a part of you. But with curling, it's different than anything else because it's just such a community-oriented sport, too. If you curl, curlers are your family. Anywhere in the world that there's a club, you have a place to stay. You got people to hang out with. You probably got a few bars to go drink at. So it's a very fortunate thing to be born into something like that, where it's truly the best people on the planet. And it enriches your life outside of the sport besides on it, just because you get introduced to so many amazing people.
So as an ambassador to the sport now, what you're doing, are you looking to be involved in the next Olympics as a participant or looking for the next Tyler George?
I retired from competition after the 2018 season. We had a couple more major events after the Olympics that we played in, and I think it was early May that I called it quits. But part of that was burnout, and part of it is seeing the opportunity you have to help the sport off the ice, and that's what I've continued to do. The rest of the guys take that every bit as seriously. They're just carrying the banner, continuing to compete as well. I haven't really had the itch to go back and play as of yet. I kind of thought it'd be a year off, and then I get back out there like it fuels the fire again. But the farther down the road it gets, it seems like the farther away from playing I get, just because I really enjoy the opportunity to help the sport in other ways. And if I continue to play and we won 10 more national championships, then it doesn't really do anything for the long-term grassroots growth of the sport. But if you can actually travel around the country and talk about what the sport means to you and how great it is to be a part of that community, people start to get it, then it's so much more fulfilling than just putting more trophies on the shelf. You guys see Trent Williams just got traded, just came up on the ticker?
No.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Tyler George.
Yeah. Right on my phone as I'm here doing the interview. Just going to the
Where did you
Niners.
get traded to?
49ers.
Oh, great.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they need is more power.
Yeah. Not good news for the Vikes, no.
Nah.
Well, whatever. We got our guy Ezra yesterday. So speaking of the Vikes, Garrett Allen was getting into curling there for a while. So for the average Joe like Matt and I, not like the professional kilt-wearing curler Green Bay Greg over here, is that something anybody can kind of get into and try and start and be good at? Or
I compare it to golf, and it's one of those things that people think that anybody can do it, and to a certain degree, that's true. You could go out on the golf course first time you ever play and hit a perfect drive, but can you do it again? Can you do it again? Do you have other shots in your bag? And curling's the same way. You could go out the first time, you could fall down, throw a rock, and have it end up right on the button in the house on the other end. But being able to repeat those things and having different abilities in shot making and the athleticism it takes to throw the rock harder, to sweep. I mean, there's so many things that people don't get about the sport that they're starting to understand now that more and more people are getting out and trying it. But it takes a lifetime to master. There's a reason why the guys at the Olympics and on the podium are the same ones year in, year out, because they're the best at what they do. But we want people to think that they can do it, that anybody can play, because again, at a league level, you could come out and play and you could make a few shots, have a great time doing it. But mastering the sport, one of the disadvantages that we get in promoting the difficulty of it is that the only time that most people see it played is in the Olympics, and that's changing now. NBC is covering some more events of ours, but when you only see the very best in the world doing it, of course, it's going to look pretty easy because we're supposed to make it look easy. We've been doing it our whole lives. So that's part of the fun of what I get to do now is when we hold these open houses and clinics at a lot of the events that I do, the first thing that people think when they walk into a curling club is, Jesus, that's a lot farther to the other end than it looks like on TV. And then the second thing is they go out and they sweep a rock one time and they say, you guys do this for 2 hours straight. And it's so much more difficult than it looks like on television because it's not just the sweeping itself, it's the balance while doing it. And then they start to get into the strategy and all those things that go with it too. And it's called chess on ice for a reason. So it becomes addictive real fast, but the more people that get to try it, the more people gain a healthy respect for it. And I've never once had somebody, professional athletes included, go out on the ice, play it, walk off the ice, and say, yeah, it's just what I thought it would be. It's always a surprise in the difficulty level of the sport. And again, now that we're able to get it more exposure and get more people out on the ice, then we're getting that healthy respect the sport deserves.
So a question for you then. So as let's say a young kid wants to get involved, you were talking about clinics and things like that. What are some websites or outlets that they can look to get more involved?
The first one you go to is usacurl.org. It'll reroute you to the Team USA page for curling, and there's a lot of links and resources there. You can certainly do a Google search for any curling clubs in your area. Usually it's pretty easy to find them, and a lot of times they're a lot closer than people think. I've heard many times traveling around that somebody says, I live in this area and there's no curling club out there. Like, well, yeah, there is. You just got to actually look a little bit. There's one like 20 miles from where you're at. But the great thing with curling, though, is outside of those resources too, if you drop one of us a message on Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, we're probably going to get back to you because we want to help the sport and because we love talking about curling. So curlers are very accessible to the masses in that we don't take ourselves very seriously. So no matter what accomplishments we have or however many events we get to do, the ESPYs, all that stuff, it's a lot of fun, but in the end, it's just curlers. So anybody that wants to talk to us about the sport or is interested in getting on the ice, any questions about it, just look us up and find us. And we're very accessible. We love talking about it.
That's how I found you on Twitter, just reached out. And if Greg can curl with a couple 13, 14 down back in the day, I know for a fact that I can. Okay. So
yeah,
on your Twitter, you had been on KFAN, which is a local sports radio station, and you're a gold medal winner, but you're also the initial champ.
3 times. Yep. Let's get it right. 3 times.
Initial champ.
Yep.
So I had explained to you that we typically will do a weekly game. So I put together the rapid fire initial game.
All right. I'm ready for it.
I will give you the initial. We have 12 questions. Rapid fire means it's basically a gimme question, but it's out of you 3 to fire in there and get it.
Are we buzzing in with our names the same as the initial show too?
Correct.
All right. I got it.
So first question. Your initial is B. Popular adult beverage. Greg.
Beer. The guy from Wisconsin.
Weird.
You can't beat a Scotty to a beer question.
No, right.
Oh, man.
Question number 2. Toy you throw that comes back.
Matt.
Matt.
Boomerang.
All
You
right.
guys are quick.
The Mall of America is located here.
Greg.
Tyler.
Greg.
Bloomington.
Oh, I thought I had that one. Ooh. I think there's some delay on the
I
feed.
think there is.
Is
too.
there?
I'll give you that one. Yeah.
No, I don't want any freebies.
Question number 4. Throw a ball into a hoop.
Matt, basketball. Yeah, there we go.
We got a 2-2 tie. Come on, Tyler.
I might have to throw in the towel early on this one.
This channel features Real Housewives and Top Chef.
Matt, bravo.
I don't think I would have got that one even if they didn't buzz in.
No kidding.
I was ready for BET or something.
That's awesome.
His fiance,
Well, look at my shirt. I mean, that's
Yeah.
more up my alley there.
Yep.
It's all about the soul, man.
All right, we got a 3-2 lead with Ben's winning. Fear the deer.
Greg.
Greg.
Bucks. I almost stole that one.
I'm gonna say my feed went out for a second on that one.
It was
Oh.
Fear the deer.
And Wisconsin got the Bucks.
Yeah, so far I've gotten
All right.
zero bucks.
I don't think I would have beat the Scotty that one either.
So 6 questions in, we have a 3-3 tie. Question number 7. A hockey team in Boston.
Greg.
Tyler,
Did you beat him, Tyler?
I think
I
you
don't
did.
know.
I think you did.
We'll give it to you.
All right, Tyler.
Bruins.
Yeah, that's
All
right. Yeah, it's
All
on
right,
the
I didn't
board.
get skunked. I feel better now.
On the board. Question number 8. Had the first pick in the draft.
Matt,
Tyler,
Bengals.
Matt.
tight again.
All right. Home of the Nets.
Tyler,
Tyler.
home of the the
The
what?
Nets.
The Nets.
Oh, Brooklyn. Sorry.
There he is.
All right.
Here he comes.
I got 1, 2. So we got 4-3-2. Matt's in the lead with 3 questions to go. When you can't see.
Oh,
Fine.
All right. 2 questions to go. A place where you sleep.
Matt,
Tyler,
let's go, baby. Let's go.
And this question's going to be for Greg. Popular pants in the 1970s.
Popular pants in the 1970s.
Yeah. Or 60s. I can have my hair off.
Matt, bell bottom. Come on, Greg. Come
Wow.
on, Greg. You were around
I
that-
thought you were literally just asking him. I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh.
It was just a shot at the stage. We do that.
It's all right. I was out of contention anyways, I think. It didn't matter.
Right.
Well, Matt with the win. Tyler, good sport. We appreciate having you on.
Well, I can't win that one, too, because I got to lay in the weeds a little bit. If I win all these games, then nobody's going to ask me to play anymore.
That's true. That's a great sport, man. You are now a part of the Twist family, so we greatly appreciate that. And
Yeah.
hopefully, once this COVID stuff kind of dissipates, we can get you on.
There's your medal for the win there, too.
Hey.
Beautiful.
Champion.
Look at that.
Thanks, bud. I'll give you my address. You can mail that through.
Yeah, I'll do that right away. Don't worry about it.
All right, buddy. You have a
Thanks,
good
Tyler.
day.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Well, looks like I'm getting gold, so you both can shove it.
Wow.
No
We
big
got to
deal.
see. I was going to ask to see if we could see the medal, too. So
I love it that he had it just sitting there. I
know.
wouldn't
I've
go
been
anywhere.
wearing it.
I know. I wouldn't go anywhere without wearing
Just
that
get it
thing.
on like a Cuban link.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Well, that was fun, Matt.
Yeah, it was great.
Congratulations. Wow, Greg, you suck.
Yeah.
Greg's just having a bad week.
It's not my week.
So
we'll get into that.
yeah, we will get into that. So our second interview is actually going to be with the son of former Hall of Fame offensive lineman Mike Garrett. His son's name's Garrett Webster.
Yeah.
So Mike Webster was obviously played in the National Football League from 74 to 90 with the Steelers and the Chiefs. Member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 96. And we actually have the same nickname, Iron Mike. Yep. You heard it here first.
Although other people gave Mike Webster that nickname, Mike gave it to himself.
I gave it to myself, but either way. So Webster was the first NFL player diagnosed with CTE. Since his death, he's become a symbol for head injuries in the NFL and the ongoing debate over player safety. So we will give Garrett a call here. He's in Pennsylvania, and we got some questions lined up for him. So
Excellent.
Mike Webster, originally from Wisconsin.
Greg, shut up.
Badger.
Yikes.
Hello.
Welcome to Twist, Garrett. How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Oh, we'll get him going.
Mike.
Yep, we're here. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
What about now?
No, a little bit of interference there. Weird.
Mike.
Can you hear us?
We'll have to put him. There we go.
Hear us now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. We had a little technical difficulty, but here on Twist, we make it work. How are you doing today, Garrett?
I'm doing well. Just enjoy the beautiful weather out here in Pittsburgh today.
There you go. Excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming on. It's really an honor for you to come on. We did do a little backstory on your dad. And if you want, just give us a little bit of a rundown of growing up with a NFL father.
Well, I think, the biggest thing is that to me, he wasn't an NFL player. I think, the stuff you grow up with, you just get used to it. Just like anybody who's got a dad who, whether they're a cop or factory worker or whatever, you get used to those routines and that just becomes normal to you. I always like to say, that I think it was one of Reggie White's kids said, to us, he's not Reggie White, he's just dad. And, that's how it was when I looked at and think back about the years growing up with my dad being a football player. And I was younger at the time. I was only about 4 when he left the Steelers, and when he retired in Kansas City, I was like 6 or 7. So I missed most of the really good years and really fun years. My mom always jokes because I'm the biggest sports fan in the family, so I really would have enjoyed seeing those Super Bowl years for the Steelers and stuff. But I do remember certain things. It's funny the things you do remember. I remember being in the Steelers locker room and that smell of sweat and athletic tape, and seeing the guys walk around. And I remember the Chiefs having that. Because it was the early 90s, so they had that kind of 80-90 style around that, red vinyl on the seats and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the Steelers had a hot tub, the rehab hot tub, and I remember that just being the coolest thing, ever. And then I remember the Steelers used to have Christmas parties, every year, and then we'd go. And I think for about 4 or 5 years, the girls got a Barbie doll or an Easy Bake Oven, and then the boys got either a fire truck or an army truck. And that's kind of the stuff I remember, and my dad was somebody who, and I think this is why the people of Pittsburgh really took to my dad and still remember to this day is, he definitely treated football like a job, in the fact that, that's where he went and he worked and he put time in it. It wasn't just, practice and then go home, which is, kind of like how it is today. Today, if you're a football player, it's not a, 3-hour practice and then go ahead and go home. It's a, 8, 9, 10, 12-hour day. And that's how Dad looked at it. And he loved practicing. He loved that physical exertion of working out. What's it called? Improving his craft, I guess you could say. And he really enjoyed that. So when we were growing up, we remembered him going out and, working out in the front yard or, going to practice or something like that. And then, just kind of coming home and being dad. But we definitely remember him, being away a lot. But we knew where he was, and it wasn't like, we didn't know where he was. For us, it was just normal growing up, like a dad going in to work at the factory for 12 hours.
Yep. So I had mentioned before we brought you on, your dad was the first NFL player, kind of the poster for CTE. When do you really remember, that disease kind of taking over him?
Well, I think, all of us in the family have always kind of said that, it really, when he started to play for Kansas City, everybody kind of noticed a different attitude about him, a change. We noticed physical changes and stuff like that. And some of that at that time, and even now, I think that a lot of it was leaving the Steelers. I think that leaving the Steelers really kind of broke his heart and was something that he never thought he would do. And then kind of after he retired for Kansas City, that's when, everything kind of really hit and really changed with him. He went from, being one of the guys that, everybody, back at that time, when Dad retired, everybody thought he was going to go off and be a head coach or an offensive coordinator or get into broadcasting or, everybody expected Dad to be successful after football. And unfortunately, it was a situation where it seemed like almost once those, those lights went out with retiring, he just completely changed. He was gone all the time. He didn't enjoy being around anybody. He was very private. He was sick all the time. We knew, even as kids being 6, 7 years old, we understood our finances weren't well. Back then I can even remember, Mom worrying about the electric bill being paid and, our rent, our mortgage being paid and stuff like that. And, we all kind of looked at it that something was wrong with Dad. In that situation, you look at your dad and you think, hopefully he's going to get better. That's how everybody wants things to be. You don't, look at a family member with cancer and you think, okay, well, you hope that they're going to get better every day, even if it's a, terminal diagnosis and they're going to pass away soon. You want to believe they're going to get better. And with Dad, that's what we thought. And with head injuries too, and you talk to a lot of people about this who have somebody in the family who unfortunately has a mental injury or psychological issues, is that it's not like a broken leg or an amputated limb where you can see and like somebody has their arm cut off, you can be pretty sure they're never gonna go play golf or play video games or regrow that arm. But when somebody has a mental injury or a psychological injury, you don't see anything. So you keep thinking, well, the next day they'll get better. The next day, the first positive sign, that loved one, you're thinking, okay, that's going to go away and we're going to go back to how life used to be. And unfortunately with Dad, we would see it from time to time. He'd be his normal self. But that was 10% of the time, and 90% of the time it was just pure chaos, and it was tough because he was still, physically to a lot of aspects, and he did have some issues with putting on weight and losing it and stuff like that. But overall, he still looked like Iron Mike. He still had the big arms and the stout frame, and even 6 months before he died, I remember he was showing me a football move, and he almost tore my arm off just with how strong he was. Just by showing me how to grip a guy by his shoulder pads or how to block and stuff like that. So, that was, I think one of the biggest things that played into kind of everybody not taking it seriously with how bad Dad was. Even out here, everybody knew it was kind of an open secret that my dad was struggling, but then they would see him at an autograph show or they would see him, at something with his teammates or something like that. And he would seem at least a little bit like, Iron Mike. He was that same strong guy. He had the cowboy boots and the hat and the, kind of John Wayne attitude. But, if anybody can get, nobody wants to look bad in front of their, teammates and stuff like that. So, a lot of that was him putting on that, that act. I don't think anybody will ever say that my dad wasn't a tough man. And, he would say, he would suck it up and do his best to be the old Iron Mike. And usually when he couldn't be Iron Mike, he would just stay away from those things and cut those people out of his life because he didn't want to look bad around them.
So the NFL insisted on a provision in a settlement preventing players who died before 2006 from receiving compensation. You guys would be due roughly $3 million. Where are you at in the lawsuit right now?
Well, we've been... Well, let me put it this way. Facebook has these memories things, and they show you, every year or so, what happened on this day, 2 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago, I first posted about there being a provision. Originally, there was no appeal provision. It was if you died before 2006, you were completely cut off. Which, again, I mean, I know the league is struggling monetarily, and they've got to make cuts where they can, so the NFL can make money. But that's sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, we
caught
picked that up real quick.
But it was cut out, and then the judge in the case went back and made them add in a provision where there was an appeal process. And we've been basically at the same stage we've been at for 3 or 4 years now. There hasn't never been any ruling. There keeps being delays about this. Some lawyer wants an extra date. Somebody else wants this thing. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And it's been, beyond frustrating, for us, in a bunch of different reasons, not just for us, but there's a lot of families out there. And the reality of the situation is that, the guys who played, well, let's look at that, before 2006. So if somebody died before 2006, chances are they played in the league before, the salaries, even the league minimum salary this year, I think, is like $2 or $3 million. The most my dad ever made was when he played for Kansas City, and I think it was $375,000. Most of the time he played for Pittsburgh, he made about $16,000, $17,000 a year. So, he wasn't, those guys didn't make anything. And when you retire, let's just ignore completely the head injury and stuff like that. You're going to have massive bills for healthcare, for, rehab, for, dealing with the injuries from football. And those guys from 2006 now have, didn't have any, any real opportunity to get better and have lives. You see most of these success stories for guys who played before that. Most of them were guys who were backups who played very little in the league. And, and that's not, denigrating them or anything like that. We're guys that, had short careers or whatever and didn't really suffer the effects of guys who played, let's say, 7 or 8 years and were a starter most of those years and stuff like that. And that was the tough part, is that there's people out there struggling and just taking us out of the equation. It was struggling for us because it's been a great source of pride that after my dad passed away and they found CTE and stuff like that, is that in a way his death has helped a huge amount of people, maybe,
Absolutely.
More people than we ever thought about. So in a way, at least I do personally, and I know I talked to my mom about this and stuff like that, is if dad's death can be used to help people, whether it's to get financial relief or acceptance or just awareness of these injuries, because head injuries happen to everybody, from football players to police officers, military, firemen, just somebody going down the street in a 20-mile-an-hour fender bender. They can end up with whiplash or a head injury or a concussion or something like that. So it's a great deal of pride to think that, my dad's sad story can help people. So, when you ask about the appeal and stuff like that, is that's to us what it represents. It's the acknowledgement of these injuries and the awareness and the sacrifices my dad made and other people are making out there. And it's been tough because we keep, like I said, getting these delays and stuff like that. I mean, nobody, I don't think there's anybody who understands how somebody who was the first case and CTE is, diagnosed in his brain, it's medically accepted, and all this other kind of stuff, is not included in that suit. And the truth of the matter is the people who weren't included in the suit were only about 3 people. So that's all the NFL got out of pay. That was their realistic idea, was cutting 3 people out of being part of their settlement. So that, I get that, that I think with dad would have been the most because of his years in the league and all this other kind of stuff. So it would have been $3 million. But the other 2 probably would have been, somewhere in the $1.5, $2 million range. So you're looking at maybe $7 or $8 million. And the NFL probably paid that today to just keep the Roger Goodell robot running.
Yeah.
You got to replace those cores every couple of years, and I'm pretty sure that's what they budget for him. Although his sweater vests are very nice, I'm sure those cost a penny too.
Yeah, I've been catching that the past couple of days. He's Mr. Rogers 2.0.
Yeah, I enjoy his. I am Roger Goodell. This is my human cave, and I am a totally normal human being. Look, it's really been, a good chance to look at a guy that I would probably take a bullet with rather than spending, 2 or 3 hours with. But that's been the frustrating part. Is again, there's all this stuff. There's no reason for it to be this terrible. I don't know. You watch even right now with this coronavirus stuff going on. You see the goodness of people. You see people going out and doing things for others, helping each other and stuff like that. And there's always this group of people that, for whatever reason, always seems to somehow be the most financially successful. They seem to ruin it for everybody else. There doesn't need to be this stuff. And these people who are struggling, I don't. I always look at it as, and my dad was this way, is that if you have money and you have the opportunity to help people, your fellow man, there's no better feeling, no better thing to do. And even if you want to look at it as a business proposition, who doesn't like supporting an organization that helps their employees? I don't think there's anyone out there that would say, oh yeah, I don't want to, support and help a organization or a sports league or whatever you want to call it that takes care of those that are in need. And, the biggest help we've gotten from, during our last 4 or 5 years of struggle here, once again with the NFL, has been from regular fans, regular people who have, reached out to us and helped us, whether it be financially or just with words of encouragement, but, people from the league and stuff like that are people we don't hear from very often.
So we're talking with Garrett Webster. He's the son of former Hall of Fame and NFL Pittsburgh Steeler and Kansas City Chief. This is a 2-part question for you.
Hey, you can put my accomplishments on there too. I have
well, shout them out, Garrett.
Death ratio on Call of Duty. I'm my team in NBA 2K is led by the Galaxy Opal, Shaquille O'Neal. So. Don't forget those things. That's what I've accomplished.
Well, there we go. We got that on there too.
Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith a few times. I could probably quote it from memory. So, I'm just saying, don't sell me short now.
Oh, we are not, Garrett. So, a 2-part question for you. Kind of your thoughts on the NFL, how they take care of their players, and then the NFLPA acts like they're really, truly out there for the players, when in all reality, after you're kind of done. We've interviewed former player Michael Bennett, who's talked about, some of his CTE and some of his injuries. We've had former Viking Chuck Foreman on talking about the pension plan and really, the little amount of money that the NFL produces for after you're done. So I'd just like to get your thoughts from being a family member of somebody that grew up with that.
Well, I think, and I've actually talked to my mom about this, a lot, is, there was you go back and just looking over the history of the NFL, and I know it was a 2-part question, and it's kind of, both are connected to,
Yep.
kind of, even though it's a 2-part, it's kind of a 1-part question. But, the first thing is that, as for football, and I'll say this before I get into my long rant here, is, I'm in favor of football. I enjoy watching the games. I enjoy watching, especially the Steelers. And for a long time, especially after my dad left the Steelers, we didn't acknowledge the Steelers, in our family, because, we knew that really broke Dad's heart to leave. So for us, it was very, very tough to watch them, and the funny thing is that, my dad was that way, but he always knew what the Steelers were doing. He always kind of had, some kind of an idea, because it's the Steelers, so they were always on national TV or something like that. We lived, in Wisconsin during pretty much most of Dad's post-retirement life. And so, we'd be, sitting there kind of watching it, and, Dad would kind of stick his head in and say, oh, they're going to, because they still ran pretty much the same plays and same philosophies that Chuck Noll did when Bill Cowher was there, especially those first few years. And, he'd know the play, what was going on, all this other kind of stuff. And it was always funny to watch because he'd, act like he wanted to know, but he didn't want to know. And it was the same thing with the Wisconsin Badgers. I don't know, and I'm sure talking to other players and stuff like that, you know, a lot of them don't like watching the games because I think it's that, they get that adrenaline going and they get that feeling, oh, I could still go out there and play and stuff like that. But, so we enjoy football. I enjoy watching it. There are times where it's definitely hard to watch, and that's mainly when, we hear, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, you've seen, these commercials about how much they're doing for the players and how much they're doing this and how much they care about them and stuff like that. When we're, as I just said, have been going through delays for 4 or 5 years from, what's probably 0.00001% of their revenue.
Yeah.
It's tough to see. But we still enjoy it. I always tell my mom, we root for the players. At the worst case, we root for Marquise Pouncey or Ben Roethlisberger or anybody who's basically not a Raven. We don't root for the Ravens. Those guys. But we enjoy watching it in all sports. I think that unfortunately today our country is so divided about so many different things, but sports, especially football, is something that people take pride in, and they really rally behind their hometown teams. I couldn't tell you who the mayor of our town is, but I can tell you who our backup quarterback is. And, I think that's a big thing is that, there's no pride in our communities as much anymore as we used to have, but we take pride in our sports teams. The sports teams are the flags we rally behind, not so much, our state flag or state anthem or anything like that. We follow our sports teams. And, that's something that, and I think there's wonderful things that come from sports. I still have amazing friends that I've known from, when I played high school football, even look at all the wonderful things that have happened to us, or even if you want to take the negative view, the impact that my dad has had because he was a star in sports and because he was very well known, the ability that his passing now has to help people is something that realistically wouldn't have if he was just Joe Blow off the street.
Yep.
And that's, at some point in time, you do have to acknowledge that, that aspect in there. Now, as for, how I feel about the NFL, I think that, and my mom talks about this, is if you look at the history of the NFL, up till 88 when free agency was kind of put in, I think there was, people didn't really, nobody really thought too much about the post-football life. Most of the time you see guys who were, these guys were making pretty much what regular people were making, a little bit more, but, unless you were Terry Bradshaw or Roger Staubach or something like that, you weren't making huge money. And I think pretty much everybody understood that, and I think most guys understood that when their career was over, they were, if they couldn't get and most of the times the owners, especially guys like Art Rooney and stuff like that, they would just take care of the players. They would say, here, go work at a car dealership or work in the office as an equipment guy or something like that. And then I think when 1988 came around, and if you look, and I've never seen the statistics on this, but I would love to see it, you started to see new owners coming in. You started to see the Jerry Jones and stuff like that who were capitalists, who wanted to make every dollar. That's what mattered to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you saw that for about 12 or 15, 20 years, up until, the mid 2000s late, where no one cared. No one cared what happened to these. I remember when we had our lawsuit originally with my dad against the NFL, there was Gene Upshaw on the, state Supreme Court. There's an article in the New York Times where Gene Upshaw said, and again, this is the head of the Players Association, the guys who should be representing the players and should be arguing my dad's case. He's up there saying, we don't think Mike Webster deserves any of this money. He just lost his money and he just wants a payday, and stuff like that. They never did a single thing to help us. And if anything, they made things more difficult for us to get any kind of a pension or help or something like that. The disability. Let me put it this way. My mom was married to my dad for, they got married in 72 or 73, and my dad passed away in 2002. So that's about, almost 30 years of marriage. And my mom doesn't receive a pension or anything from the NFL, from my dad passing away. Now, granted, they did separate and divorce, but even so, she doesn't see a penny. Our family doesn't see a penny. There's no benefits. When my dad retired, there was no health insurance for him. And none at all. Every injury that he had from football, he had to live with for the rest of his life. He had 5 herniated discs in his back, a torn rotator cuff, arthritis in his hands and feet. His knees were shot with no cartilage, and he had plantar fasciitis in one of his feet. That was all from football, and he could not. My mom tried to talk to somebody about getting him insured once, and it was something like $2 or $3 million a year to have him medically insured, from playing. And, the NFL would then come back, we provide health insurance for 2 years after the player's retired. Well, most of these guys, their stuff doesn't show up for, 2 or 3 years after they're done playing. And then when I remember in 2000, believe it was 2007 or 2009. I can't remember. They did a hearing because this whole brain injury stuff started. It all started with a discussion on players' rights and benefits when they retire and stuff like that. And I remember I actually testified in front of the Senate and stuff like that back in that time. And the NFL Players Association big argument then was that they had something like $2 or $3 billion saved in their players' fund for funding things. And then I remember the congressman at the time, I think it was Jim Connors or something like that, said, "Well, how much do you pay out every year?" And it was something like $6 million, for something like 20,000 retired players. It's something like $300 a player is what they average. But they will brag about how much money they have saved. Like, what's the point of that money being saved up in there if it's not getting paid out to anyone? In fact, if you want to look at it this way, my dad is one of, I think, 3 or 4 players that have ever been classified as completely disabled from football. If you're telling me that probably 40,000 players that have played in the NFL, you're telling me that only 2 or 3 of them have ever been. We all know that there's more than 2 or 3 of them that have been completely disabled from football. You probably go out and that number is probably 10, 20%, I mean, if somebody's playing, being a police officer, there's a higher, reference from that. And it's embarrassing. I mean, and again, that was the way things were for those 1988 to, let's say, 2005, 2006. And then I think you've seen in the last 10 or 15 years, I think you've seen, again, a new wave of owners come in that are younger guys that understand, even if you want to just say for the sake of argument, for a public relations position, it's a better idea to take care of these guys than to just let them flounder, because the fans remember. I mean, that was the biggest thing the NFL underestimated, is how much the fans care about these players. Whether it's my dad, whether it's Brent Boyd or Michael Haynes or Marcus Allen or John Elway or whatever. Fans care about these guys. The fans understand that playing and doing this stuff, especially the older guys, they're going to have things from football, and they should and deserve to be taken care of, just simply as a repayment for all the good memories they've given them. And I think the newer owners have tried to, take care of it. The Steelers the last 4 or 5 years have been more amazing to us than they were since probably 1988 when Dad retired. We've been invited to games, we do that and all that kind of stuff. We get included in things, and that's all we want, and it took forever to do that. But I still think there's still some owners who want, nothing to do with these guys who are hurt and stuff like that. And the sad thing is, the people who are in charge of the NFLPA, the people who run it, there's been all this stuff about players' injuries and everything like that. So how the hell did the NFL get to add another game to the schedule, with this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. The NFL makes more money than any business in this country, and yet they reduced disability payments to these guys, and you're seeing it with the blowback with the, recent collective bargaining agreement. And, if you really read it and talk to people about it, I mean, the players got screwed over. And somehow, it seems like, you talk to DeMarie Smith or whatever, and they act like it was the greatest deal the players could have ever gotten ever. And no one seems to care. And that, the funniest thing is that, what they should be doing is look what, I remember they did a thing once where they talked about so let's say, Mike Webster. Okay, Mike Webster and Cal Ripken Jr. Both Iron Men, both played, I think Cal Ripken played 22 seasons or something like that, but Dad played 17 years in the NFL. And they compared what Cal Ripken would get versus what Mike Webster got for retirement packages. And it was ridiculous. Cal Ripken would get like $2-point-something million a year. His family in perpetuity got a pension and benefits and all this other kind of stuff. They showed that a guy who went in the major leagues and played 4 or 5 years had a better pension than a guy who played in the NFL for 15 years and won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's just insane.
And even you look at, and that's the other thing too, is you look at every other sport. Look at the NBA. Look at how they honor guys who passed away, whether or older players, whether you're talking about Kobe Bryant or you talk about other guys like Kevin Garnett or even the younger guys like guys who maybe didn't reach that success and financial windfall that those guys did, but like, Bill Cartwright or Terrell Brandon or Stephen Marbury or Christian Leighton or trying to throw some Timberwolves out there for you.
Yeah, I picked up on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Never draft a white power forward. That's all I'm going to say. But, it's a situation
I'm big on that.
where unless they're German, if they're Kristaps Porzingis or Dirk Nowitzki, go for it. But Christian Leighton, you want to pass on that.
Yeah.
But or Wally Zerbiak. But it's a situation where it's just the other league. It's not even close. The other leagues are so far ahead, and yet the hardest most physically demanding sport, other than maybe hockey. I think hockey's probably if I had to pick a fight between a football player and a hockey player, unless there's a huge size difference, I'm probably going to go with the hockey guy.
Oh yeah.
But it's a situation where it's embarrassing. I mean, it really would be. If I ran the Players Association, and that's the really sad part. And the thing is nobody's doing anything about that because there's no government oversight. There's no, I can't believe in this country that at this point in time, with how big sports are in our country, all jokes aside, because it's not just a game. There are so many things that flow from sports. There's not a position in the government that is an independent person that comes in and sees a sports league or whatever abusing things and says, hey, don't do that. This is going to stop, have a fair deal. And there's not. Because we all know the Players Association, especially in the NFL, works with the league. And they will always say, oh, isn't that a good thing? Well, it's not. And it shouldn't be necessarily adversarial. It shouldn't necessarily be, hey, this. But when, you look at what the NFL does with their disciplinaries, especially in the past, I know that's changed a little bit now. But how Roger Goodell would just come out and do these things just randomly, give guys 7 game suspensions, 3 game suspensions, 4 game suspensions, and the Players Association couldn't do anything about it. How did they, especially with this collective bargaining agreement, not sit there and go, hey, let's stop this, and they don't. They just don't care. And, it's embarrassing. And I think, honestly, one day, maybe not now, but I think 10, 20 years from now, I think you'll see some stuff come out that will blow people away about some of the things these people who are in charge and they're scum, they're criminals who have gotten away with things and destroyed lives, destroyed families, destroyed people. And one day that stuff will come to light. I mean, there's no way it can. At the end of the day, as much as people want to say that, good people or nice guys finish last or whatever, any one of those sayings, most of the times the people who have done these things to people, they get their comeuppance in the end. And I think one day you have to trust that one day these people will.
Yeah. You sure hope so. And I know our viewers, and we sure appreciate you shining a light, on it from a family's perspective. So we truly appreciate it and appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us, Garrett.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Anytime. Just don't send me any lutefisk. As long as you do that, we're good.
Will do.
Nice.
Sounds like
I'll
a
send some
plan.
brats.
Thanks, Garrett. You have a good rest of your weekend, and God bless. All right.
You too. Have a good night.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
Beautiful. 2 great interviews.
Garrett
Very
Webster.
informative.
Wow.
Ooh, what a story, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I'm always intrigued at that side of it because we've been fortunate enough, in 21 shows, a half show and a draft special.
Yeah.
To shine some light on CT and kind of the effects of after. So
there goes your guy.
Jacob Eason,
Goes
drafted by the Colts.
Figured.
There you go.
Good.
So
Good move.
with that,
Knew that was coming. God.
let's get it going. Go ahead. Cut it. I'm ready to get into the headlines. Here we go. First headline of the week. Redskins offensive tackle who was just traded denies nixing potential trade to the Vikings. However, sources confirmed to ESPN that the potential trade partners were informed at some point Friday that Williams did not want to play for the Vikings.
Screw him.
As was first reported by the NFL Network. The Vikings proceeded to take Ezra Cleveland in the second round. Ezra, number 2, Bears select Notre Dame's Cole Kmet in NFL draft, giving team 10 tight ends. The Chicago Bears must believe in strength in numbers theory at tight end. On Friday, the Bears made yet another attempt to improve their fortunes at tight end. And as I said, that is 10. Count them.
10.
10.
10.
Fucking 10.
You know who doesn't have tight ends?
Green
Freaking
Bay.
Packers.
Yeah. Number 3, first all virtual NFL draft sees average of 15.6 million viewers on opening night. That is 30% up from 2019 and eclipses the NFL's previous high of 12.4 million viewers in 2014.
Whoa.
Number 4, Vikings picks so far in the draft.
Yeah, buddy.
Their first round picks were Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU, and Jeff Gladney, cornerback, TCU. Also, like I stated, offensive tackle Ezra Cleveland in the second round, and in the third round, Cameron Datznier. We'll go with that. That was offensive or cornerback, Mississippi State. And then today they recently just took defensive end DJ Wanham from South Carolina.
Ooh.
The Packers pick so far.
Did we bet? We skipped
Hold
the draft.
on. So
Can I get our grades for our draft?
Oh, sure. So the grades.
Yeah.
This is based on CBS Sports.
CBSSports.com.
Justin Jefferson was an A grade. Jeff Gladney, B grade. Ezra
Nice.
Cleveland, A- grade.
Wow.
Cameron Dancier. I hope that's right. I don't think
Dantzler.
No, it's IER.
Oh, I thought I saw it.
That's a B
Dancier.
plus grade.
Wow.
All right. I don't have one for Wanham yet.
Yeah, he's
So
new.
we'll go to the Packers pick so far in the first round. They moved up to 26 to take Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. That's a D grade.
They now have A-Rod and J-Lo.
Yep, that is correct. Power couple. The second round, they took at number 62, running back A.J. Dillon,
Who?
Boston College.
Oh,
That's a C plus grade.
okay.
Hey,
Getting a
if
little better.
When I brought home C pluses, my mama was proud.
I got presents
All
for
right,
C pluses.
so just remember that. In the third round, they took at number 94. It's here as a tight end, but Josiah DeGaria, Cincinnati. We'll call it a tight end. We'll say
He's a
tight end.
fullback.
We'll give it to him.
He's a fullback.
Tight end, C-.
I
Still
got
a great grade.
It's passing.
We'll still get you into probably Wisconsin University.
They won't be
So,
passing to him, but it's
there's
a passing
that.
grade.
So that's what I got for the headlines so far, and
Wow.
we'll
I
keep
gotta
it going.
vomit.
Cool.
Wow.
All right, great.
That was awesome.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah, let's get loose.
All right.
All right, well, today is April 25th. There's only 30 days in this month, so that means you only have 5 days to go to rtfsportsnetwork.com and vote for Twist for the show of the month. And we can't leave out Bricks Boatworks. They brought to you 2 great interviews today, so we appreciate Bricks. They're your trusted local source for marine repair, and they are open. They are deemed essential because they are the shit.
Yes.
All right.
Bricks.
Today in history. In 1876, the Chicago Cubs' first National League game. They beat Louisville 4-0. In 1901, New York becomes the first state requiring an automobile license plate. It was $1. 1940, Al Pacino was born in New York.
Think he wasn't?
Good old Al. 1950, Chuck Cooper becomes the first African-American to be drafted into the NBA by the Boston Celtics. 1952, the 6th NBA championship. We do win championships here. The Minneapolis Lakers beat the New York Knicks 4-3.
Squad.
In 1962, Adam Silver, American lawyer and NBA commissioner, was born in New York. I'm starting to see a theme here. 1969, Darren Woodson was also born, but in Phoenix.
Summer of 69.
Also in 69, Joe Who Gives a Buck was born
Go buck
in
yourself.
St. Petersburg, Florida. Wow, cool.
Wish that
1974, NFL moves the goalposts and adopts the sudden death playoff.
Yeah.
They're killing people, literally.
Yeah.
1976, Timmy Duncan was born in Christiansted, U.S. Virgin Islands.
That's the big fundamental.
The big fundamental.
Yeah.
A lot of birthdays.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm just flowing them in
Sure.
this week. I like
This
that
ain't
better.
even the biggest birthday yet.
It isn't. 1978, ABC premiere of the crime drama Vegas. Big show. 1980, A's manager Billy Martin restrained by umpires from attacking a fan.
Imagine that.
Calm down, Billy. 1993, some draft stuff. Washington State quarterback Drew Bledsoe was the first pick by the Patriots. That's back when the Patriots were drafting quarterbacks.
Imagine that.
1997, Seattle Mariner Ken Griffey Jr. hits his 250th home run. All right. 2009.
Whoa, great year.
Wow.
Great year.
Georgia quarterback Matthew Stafford was the first pick for the Detroit Lions, and he's still slanging for Detroit.
Everything's fine in 09.
2013, Central Michigan offensive tackle Eric Fisher was the first pick by the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm pretty sure he's slanging burgers somewhere.
Wow.
2019,
What?
Kyler Murray was the number one pick
Yeah.
by the Arizona Cardinals. And last but most certainly not least, on this day, 1 year ago, 2019, Louis Daly was born.
Daily Maurice.
Good for you, Louis. Little Louis, happy birthday,
Set
bud.
the bar high.
Oh, the legal bar. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Oh, this is.
Whew, whew. Buckle up, folks. Buckle up. I'm just going to sit back here.
Parental guidance may be advised beyond this point.
TVMA.
TVMA.
Greg,
All right, so
you got anything you want to rant about?
this is the section of the show where we do rants, and I might have one. So Thursday night, the Packers decided in their draft to pick a freaking quarterback.
Yeah.
You have one team in the NFL that was levels above you, the San Francisco 49ers. So what do? You draft your backup quarterback? How about a linebacker? How about a tight end to keep your team on the field on third down? No, you know what? Gutenkirst, LaFleur,
Gutenkirst.
you have people like me that are not on the front lines of this border battle. We are behind enemy lines. Look at this. Look what I have to compete with. You're sitting in your estate in De Pere or a Schwabenheim or wherever the hell you are. And you know what I'm doing? I'm sitting here fighting for you guys. And you know what you give me?
No.
Dog shit.
Yeah.
Okay? You know what? What am I supposed to do when my 9-year-old son says to me, Dad, what's going on? Why did they find Uncle Aaron's backup as he's hugging his Aaron Rodgers pillow at night? What am I supposed to say to him? I don't get it. You know what? This is bull. Because you know what? I'm going to have to wake up in the morning, comfort my crying son who's dealing with all of this like everyone else. But seriously, I'm fighting for you guys, and you guys feed me. I ask, give me some reinforcements. Give me a tight end. Give me a linebacker to stop San Francisco's run. What do you give me? A backup quarterback. We are not the Bengals. We're not the Dolphins that have a 5-year plan. We are competing for the Super Bowl every freaking year. Did someone not tell you that when you took over this job? You know what? Last thing is, you know what? I think we just need a break. I'm not going to break up with you, Packers, but I think we need a break. I'm going to follow the Bucs win their championship in a couple of months whenever they come back. I'm going to follow to see how my Badgers fill in the roles of their running backs and their linebackers. They're all pros that they're now playing in the NFL, not for the Packers. No, because we take a bunch of freaking clowns who are actual fullbacks, but you guys put them in that tight end. So you know what? Why don't you guys do what you're going to do? I'm going to do what I'm going to do. In a couple months, I'm going to come back. I wish you the best. I'm going to pray for you. You know what? But I'm going to come back and see what you guys did. Do you guys really want me in this relationship? Because right now it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
You know what? I need a break. I'm going to come back. You know what? Like I said, I wish you the best, but I'm going to need a break.
Well,
I'm done.
There will be plenty of seats for you, Greg.
You know what? I can't even top it. We're ending rants right
We're
there.
going on to the next one. Good job, Greg.
That was great, Greg. Thank you.
Proud of you.
Put your hands together for the twist topics of the week.
Love it.
Yeah. Twist topics, baby.
Twist topic number 1.
We're gonna go outside of football for a minute
Just
with
a
a
minute.
little golf.
Yeah.
So Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning versus Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. Who you got?
Well, Phil won the first round.
He did.
But I still go with Tiger. I pick Tiger.
He picks Tiger.
I go in.
I don't care who wins. I just want to see Phil Mickelson and Peyton Manning
Draft a tight end.
trash talk, because Tom Brady's a lot more reserved. Tiger's more reserved, but it's just gonna be fun watching Phil and Peyton just mouthing off. What do we got?
James Morgan just went to the Jets.
Wow.
All right. Yeah.
So Fromm, your boy Fromm?
Jakey's still
The
there.
last
Steal
man
of the
standing.
draft. The Tom Brady pick.
Yeah.
You should get a bucket of water, a fishbowl of water for every
Yeah.
round he doesn't get picked up after the first.
I'm going to put a sports rant back on because we have players like the Jets who have Sam Darnold
Sure.
drafting James Morgan, but the Vikings can't take a quarterback? They better hop up and do something.
Don't
I'm
worry
starting to
about
get
it,
pissed.
because in true Packer fashion, as soon as Kirk Cousins' contract is up, Aaron Rodgers will be playing for
Yeah.
you guys.
Exactly. We already
True.
touched on that before because he's going to get so pissed he's going to be leaving.
Yeah. Might as well go to the Vikes.
So we got Tiger. We got
I'll take Phil.
Tiger.
There it is.
Twist topic number 2.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little Gronk and not how Tom Brady likes the size of his penis, but the addition of him to the Buccaneers.
Well, now Tom Brady says
It's at
Gronk's body is like a Spartan gladiator.
He said it's amazing. Yeah, you've seen him, but
Oh, you think that thing don't touch the ground?
oh, no.
He's sponsored by penicillin, though.
He
but
scratch-
I mean, other than
He scratches his back with it,
that,
right,
you
Greg?
think it don't? He doesn't even need laces in his shoes. He just weaves them through,
Oh.
man. Holy cow. Yeah, so I think it's a great add-on. Why not? You can tell totally through this whole time now that basically it's, hey, I'm going to come to you, Bucks, as Tom Brady. I'm going to come to you. But what do I gain out of this relationship? And you can see it. They move up in the first round. They grab the best freaking offensive lineman in the draft because they could.
Yeah.
And now they're just adding just weapons. It's the team's already full of weapons, but now you got Gronk, and you saw him. He blew the conch shell, and Gronk came running out of the forest and said, "Gronk here, but Gronk tired." Gronk's going to be amped up. So there's that. Yeah.
I thought, it was an amazing concept. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback and you fill his needs. You find players to help him out.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Yeah. LaFleur just wants Aaron gone. Let's just be real.
No, this is
his
crap.
time.
Because look what the Buccaneers did. We got a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's find players to help him win a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
So apparently the Vikings are just going to move up in the 7th round because we have 13 picks going into today. We've drafted 1 defensive end, which
Yeah.
means we have 12 left, and we're not doing anything.
Sure.
So that's really cool.
Slowly
Really
but surely.
Yeah, I'm really happy
Trust
with
the process.
what's going on.
We got 2 coming right around the bend here.
3.
So Percy Harvin put down the joint and is picking up the cleats and
I
wants
don't
to
know if
make
he
a
put it down,
comeback.
but yeah.
Well, either way, what do you guys think about Percy Harvin coming back to the NFL?
He was such a fun player to watch, but he hasn't played in 4 years. He's the type of guy where he's willing to come in for a minimal amount of money. There'll be a lot of teams that would love to take a chance on him.
Like you?
Well, I'm sure the Packers
Don't have
need?
anybody
They need
else.
a long snapper. Why don't we just take Percy Harvin to do that? Since
Yeah.
you're already drafting players that don't
He'd
fill the
probably
need.
be your wide receiver too.
Yeah,
Oh,
we need a
easily.
wide receiver. Bring him in.
Yeah.
We need another quarterback on the roster. Bring him in.
What do I think about it? Good for him if he can actually, try out and make a team rather than just do like a slow motion video to gain respect of the NFL. Good for him. I still think he gets his bell rung one time and
It's over.
it's over. And he's one of those guys where honestly, dude, how many concussions or how many migraines or you got upper deck is not stable right now. So good for him, man.
I hope he does get a shot. Like Greg said, he was electric.
Yeah.
4 years off. He's only 32, which is long in the tooth from an NFL perspective.
Right.
But I would just like to, I'd like to see it if he could do it. I'd be
There you
down.
Good stuff.
Twist topic number 4.
Numero cuatro.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the virtual draft thus far?
All right. So I love it just because it's the NFL draft. So I don't need all the bells and whistles. I don't even need the fans in the background on that screen.
Greetings
just
from
kind
Germany.
of like, kind of going nuts in the background. I don't really get that. I don't need that aspect. It's cool to see the players with their families. I like that aspect. I like to see their cribs, where they're starting from. You can tell some of them got paid in college because they got these swanky cribs. And then you got some of them who grinded it out and went to some smaller schools, or they just didn't get the money because they weren't that big of a prospect. But what I don't like, my biggest F grade, a Packer draft grade, is that Goodell's, when he goes, "Come on, Vikings fans.
Come on, school.
Let's go."
School.
No, it's not even that.
He
There's
did-
not even that much
he did do that.
enthusiasm, though.
He did it for the first pick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
did.
goes, "Skull, come on, Chiefs fans." Like, bro,
Or
change
is-
your batteries and get a little revved up here. Get a hype man in there. Do something. Come
Yeah,
on.
His batteries are low. He's a
Yeah.
robot, Garrett Webster.
I did.
Yeah, I like that.
That was great.
I did like the fact that it was more informative for like the diehard football fan.
Yeah.
You didn't have to listen to 10 minutes of booing and screaming with 30,000 people on a street, waiting to hear a guy's name called. It was more informative. I do like the fact that ESPN and NFL came together to do it. That's been just a lot more fun to watch. But yeah, I agree. I don't need a Zoom conference call in the background of Goodell. It seemed too played.
No.
You know what? Goodell, make the pick. Give it to someone else to do the picks.
Yeah.
Whatever. Or or have someone from every team, be like the fan of the year or whatever, announce your pick. Send them an email. This is your pick. Do that.
Yeah.
Make it more fan interactive. Don't make
Love
it
that.
Goodell interactive.
Yeah, with the fans on the screen. Madden had came out and said that they were going to do like an actual virtual draft, which we haven't seen. And that's my only thing is I don't think there was much of a hiccup. I could care less about the jersey and the awkward hug with Goodell. I mean, it's about football and who's getting drafted. And then Mel Kiper and all the analysts or us on our Twist Edition, I thought we did a much better job than the 3 and 4 letter network.
If you didn't catch that, go catch it.
Oh, it was great. So I would have liked to have seen something more virtual. The progression of standing to leaning to sitting back of Goodell, I've had just about enough of him.
Nice.
Twist topic number 5.
Yeah.
Well, we got to end the show talking about our 2 favorite teams. Thoughts on the Packers and Vikings picks up until now?
Go ahead, Matt.
Vikings picks. Like them. Don't necessarily understand the last one as much right now. I tried to kind of look up some things on Wanham, and it's a project, but obviously I'm not gonna question the process, because with the first picks that we've made, I trust that. So they're obviously seeing things that they like. With the Packers, if you watched our draft special, you saw the look on my face when I saw the pick, when I announced the pick for us on them taking Jordan Love. Whatever. Like I was telling these guys earlier, if that was the Packers' only questionable pick, as Greg would say, as a Packer fan, for him, he would have been okay with that. He would have been able to wrap his mind around, okay, you're taking a shot in the dark. You obviously like this guy. We're planning for the future. That's what, rationalizing, minimization, the shitty pick it was. But then you go on and you take a running back
When you already have Aaron Jones.
and then I call him and he's like, what the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck is right? What is going on? Then you go on and take a mole of a tight end. I say a mole because he's not. He's an undercover tight end.
He's a fullback.
He's a blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't get it. I mean, I understand if it was a drunken Scotty making the picks, because I'd get that. But no, it's some people that are supposedly upper educated, and they're making these picks. I don't get it. But it's okay, because it's not my team. So, yeah, I like it. We got 2 picks right around the bend here, so I'll be hanging out here until those picks happen. But yeah, good stuff.
So the Vikes, what they've done so far, again, DJ Wanham just got picked.
Yep.
I trust Spielman and Zimmer, what they've been able to do, with defensive players later in the draft, 4th-round picks, Daniil Hunter, Everson Griffin. So I don't know much about them. I can't comment too much. But 1st round, Justin Jefferson, I absolutely love it. I was fearful that we were going to reach for a receiver just to try and replace Diggs. But Justin Jefferson fell right in our lap.
Yep.
I truly thought he wasn't getting past Philly. They ended up going to a different receiver. So I love it. He's a plug and play. He's a starter for us immediately. Jeff Gladney was Benz's guy. He was screaming his name from the rooftops.
Yep.
And we grabbed him. I was honest and said I didn't know much about him. I didn't like him because of his name. To me, he looked, he sounds like a 5'6" white boy, who grades tests.
And then he watched some film and he goes,
I do. I like him. He's 6 feet, 183 listed here. Really, he's 5'10", but he's got a big wingspan.
All arms.
He's a player. He's an athlete. Again, fill the need. We need cornerbacks.
Yep.
So then 2nd round, Ezra Cleveland.
Love it.
We had talked about, Trent Williams didn't want to come here. We need a tackle.
Yep.
So again, we filled a need with a big boy,
11-pound preemie,
who's going to come in and hopefully be a 10-year starter for us at that position. So unlike our nemesis, Green Bay, we're filling needs with actually really good talent. So then the 3rd round, we come in, we get Cameron Dantzler. See, this has got an L.
Weird.
Dantzler.
Okay.
Quarterback. So now we get some length. So Zimmer does like that length too. I'm hoping that we get, Lamar Jackson later on. 6'2", 185, and this dude is just a flat-out baller. He's not the fastest guy out there, but I love him. So again, we came into this draft with just Mike Hughes basically at cornerback. So now hopefully we've filled it out a little more. We have 1 million picks left. They could just draft cornerback the rest of the way. We'll see. So we're filling needs. Now I think we'll have some more fun and get some other positions. It'll be fun. We're going to touch a lot next week. I'll touch on that here at the end of the show with our lineup next week, but we have a full draft lineup next week. So Greg, why don't you just, why don't you start with our Vikings?
Well, all ranting aside, the biggest thing is, as a lifelong Packer fan, we've gone through our entire lives of not really looking at free agency or trades. We've always been a draft team, homegrown team. The thing is, we did get Funchess. Yeah, we did get McKinley. We got the linebacker and the wide receiver in free agency. But drafting players is what the Packers have taken pride in. And what they did this year was pretty much spit on that philosophy. And they took a backup quarterback, but they had to reach for it. You had to trade to get him. Don't tell me that, we're going to find great wide receivers in the 4th and 5th round and then trade your 4th round pick. If Love would have fallen to you, that would have been different. Just trying to speak rationally here. And what really is, waking up one day, seeing a sick dog and then watching someone kick your dog is the fact that, I'll be honest, the Vikings have had an amazing draft so far. Like these guys said, they're filling the need. They looked at their team and said, you know what? We ended up 10-6. We have some needs. We're still a good team. Let's just make ourselves a little better. So what did they do? They make themselves a little bit better. Packers were 13-3. There was only one team in the NFL that was levels above them. And they did not feel any need to address. They didn't address any of those needs to compete with the 49ers. 2 ways to compete with the 49ers. Keep your offense on the field and keep their running game to a minimum. We didn't pick up a middle linebacker, which is what we needed in the draft. And we didn't pick up a tight end early in the draft to keep the ball on 3rd down.
Colin Cowherd said it the best. He said, the Vikings got better for this upcoming season. The Packers have not.
I think I said it better, but okay.
I don't know. That was a little short and sweet, Colin Cowherd. The Vikes got better. That's what it's all about. Beautiful.
Like I said, next week we got Asif Hassan from The Athletic for the Vikings. Joe Pisapaya talking the Patriots. Lake Lewis talking the Redskins.
Craig Mitch talking the Dolphins.
And Dave Sinekin talking the Packers.
The head cheese.
We'll see y'all next week.